Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at onpurposely.com.
Like, I love how I get to see, like, how creative he is. And it's not always just this, like, obvious, big, Sunday morning moment. It's like, sometimes it's just this little seed of joy that's like, why do I feel joyful? Why do I laugh now? Why do I smile now? Just getting to see, like, little pieces of the story.
Her name is Rachel Lampa, and maybe you grew up listening to her music in the late 90s, early 2000s. I remember listening because I was in high school at the time, and so it was so exciting to hear that Rachel was going to be making new music again. We're going to certainly talk about that. We're going to talk about two nonprofits that are very close to her heart, and she's not the only one involved. Her whole family is as well, and she's going to share what she's learned about God and His love through that process. And so we're going to begin because, Rachel, you are so prompt. That's like prompt. Military precision.
I was like literally like shopping 5 seconds ago on State Street in Santa Barbara, and then I was like, I have to time this exactly right, and I just kicked my kid and my husband out of the car, and I was like, 1 o'clock, let's do this.
Where are they being kicked out to?
We pulled up to we have a little rental house. wasn't the side of the road or anything.
Okay, just needed to double check there. And how long are you in California for?
We're just here for a few days. We're actually with the Rips, with Andrew Rip and his family.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes. There in Santa Barbara for a month, and so we're like, we're coming.
Now, this is funny because I had requested from Andrea to also do a podcast with Andrew, and what she said was he's on vacation with his family in California, but Rachel can do it. So how did that work out?
Oh, I guess I've got a little more grit than he does. Or he has better boundaries. I don't know.
I'll take the first one because we're so thankful to talk to you. So part of your gifting obviously is music, but another is your heart for this nonprofit. And I want to talk about both. Yeah. So for someone that hasn't followed your story, why don't you give me the 90-second story of, was it Estes Park, Colorado?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, good job.
Okay. So just a little bit about how you started singing at such a young age, and then we'll start talking about the break you took and what happened next.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. So I grew up in Louisville, Colorado, which is basically Boulder, Colorado. And I was always kind of the singer girl around town and kind of got asked to like sing at coffee shops and, national anthems and all that kind of stuff. So I got asked to sing at this little coffee shop in Estes Park, which was nothing new to me, except for that they were like, can you sing Christian music? And I actually didn't grow up on Christian music. So I went and found the karaoke tape for The Preacher's Wife movie, like the whole soundtrack. And I sang that in this coffee shop. But what I didn't realize was this coffee shop was next door to the Amy Grant and Michael W. Smith show at this conference, this Christian music conference that goes on in Estes Park. So I was 14, and I was basically kind of scooped up there and just kind of got approached by record labels and kind of the whole thing. And that's kind of where I started listening to Christian music. I started understanding, I can sing about my faith, because I, had been going to church kind of my whole life and kind of had just started to like really embrace my relationship with God. And then this whole world of, Christian music came up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can like do all of this. And so, that's how I kind of got my start. And just through all my teenage years, I was just kind of touring and recording and, kind of, going back and forth from Colorado to Nashville, and ended up doing that for kind of 7-8 years straight until I took a break.
And you took that break, got married, you have your son, and you were telling me when we were at dinner, you have a tie to the Pacific Northwest. Remind me what that is?
Yes. My husband is from Eugene, Oregon.
Okay.
Yes. And so I love it up there. And then actually when we were dating and stuff, he lived in Mercer Island. So
that's right.
We were all up there. I also learned how to love coffee while I was visiting, so that's a big deal.
I like that you feel endeared whenever you think of the Pacific Northwest.
I love it. I love it so much.
Okay, so your husband, he's a therapist, correct?
Yes, he is a therapist.
Can I just ask you the cliche question? Like, if you guys are having an argument, do you ever feel like he's just sort of like analyzing you?
Oh, you know it. You know what? Here, so at the beginning, like when he was like learning about it, that's when that stuff was happening. And then it was like, all of a sudden I was like, oh, we gotta like go ahead and take care of this pretty early. So there's like, we totally, I mean, I have to like call it out in him all the time, but he's gotten a lot better. And actually like part of schooling is like, his schooling was like, make sure that you don't do this all the time in your personal life.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. We're getting better and better at it. And then sometimes I'm like, can you therapize this situation?
Oh, nice. Okay. So you basically ask, and is it helpful to have?
Oh my gosh. There are times where I'm like, it almost makes me more mad when we're already like in a fight and then he comes up with a great solution and I'm like, dang it. Yeah, it's an up and down thing.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you took that break, married, family life, and then I think your friend Andrew is the one that you were talking with about wanting to maybe dip your toe back in music, but not knowing where to start, and he presented you with a really beautiful opportunity.
Yeah, well, yeah. So basically, during that break, I was kind of like, never really sure if I wanted to step back into music or not. I had a lot of like identity stuff to kind of work through after kind of being on stage all through my childhood years, basically, and kind of trying to figure out, what all the voices in my ears meant and in my head meant, and finding God's voice and making sure that's turned up the loudest. And, sometimes it gets confusing. And so I sort of was like, I kind of don't think I'm going to do music again. And so I'm in a small group with Andrew Ripp and his family. And then, also my friend Ethan Hulse, who is a big writer.
Yeah. And written half the songs that we play on our radio station.
Yes. Like 100%. Like he is just writing all the great songs. But even then I was just like, nah, I'm good. But I was sharing my story, and I was also sharing a story of these women that I work with that are incarcerated, and all these like stories started to like really like bubble up in me, and I felt like they were starting to like I was needing to share it. And so I was sharing with my small group, and Andrew and Ethan were just like, Rachel, you are still an artist. You're still a writer. You're still a singer. And you need to write about this stuff because you still have so much to say. And, I think I needed somebody to see me as the person first, as Rachel first, and then as the artist, in order to like kind of even imagine like, doing this again full blast. And, so that's just what it's been. It's been like friendship first and people first. And we just write songs for fun. And then, if it's pulling at our heart to share it, then we'll put it out. And that's kind of where Perfectly Loved came from, and where more songs are being born.
That's really beautiful and makes perfect sense.
Yeah. It's felt so like it felt like such a release and just so free. I think again, like before, like when I was younger, it just kind of started to feel like had a lot of pressure on it, and there like the creativity, was starting to get, further and further away from like the heart, and so now it's like we are starting with the heart every time, and we are starting with, like feeling like knowing and accepting like that I'm loved and purposeful no matter what. And then I can share it, instead of the other way around. Like, instead of being like, okay, I'm going to share this, and then if people like it, then I have purpose, then I have value, just kind of flipping a script that I needed to flip for years.
Sometimes it takes a while to get to that point. And
Yeah.
I love that so much. Another thing, obviously, that has played into your having something to say and a new understanding of God. I can't wait to talk to you about this. Where did the inception idea of this nonprofit that you and your family began, where did it start? When was the first little ember?
Yeah. So my brother and I moved to Nashville, just kind of in the midst of like touring and stuff. We eventually just kind of picked up all our stuff from Colorado and moved to Nashville. And my brother moved into this house that was kind of in it was like not even a real house. It was like this half house. And he had a lot of people kind of surrounding the house that were sort of living on porches and living, under, little underpasses and stuff like that. And my brother started to get to know a friend that was living in a kind of an abandoned porch, and he was, obviously experiencing homelessness. And he was, my brother just wanted to befriend him and figure out what his story was and figure out how to help him. And it was a really clumsy kind of process, because we were like, well, do we just want to give him money and run? How do you do this? And when we actually, we started this friendship with him, and we realized he didn't really want our money. Like, I think there were some times where we would make meals and hang out and stuff, but the second, we started trying to give money, he got offended. And so it just really spoke to us, because we were just like, we are not taking the time to understand each other. We're not taking time to understand people who are in need and who are in really, really tough circumstances. And so through that friendship, we learned a lot about how to care for people that are on the streets. And so one Thanksgiving, we made too much food and kind of brought 5 meals out to the downtown Nashville area, and we started to pass out food and start making friends, and they brought friends and we brought friends. And now we're 14 years later, and we have basically, it's like every Monday night we have this block party for the unhoused people of Nashville to come out and just kind of get food, get clothes, get haircuts, get showers. We have a shower truck, and on top of all that, or first and foremost, it's the friendship we have. We really emphasize building friendships and community, and kind of walking with people and letting them walk with us too, and just building a real relationship with people that are in hard times.
14 years later, that has to be a full-on commitment. Where was the moment for your brother and you where this turned into something like, this is going to be part of our life's work?
Oh my gosh, it snuck up on us. We fought it so hard. We were like, because we were both on the road. So we're like, okay, what night are we even home? Okay, Mondays. On Monday, we usually get home from the road on Sundays or Mondays. And so we were like, let's do one Monday a month, or something like that. And God just really, both of us, he was just like, no, more than that. And we're like, okay, 2 Mondays a month. And then we're like, and we both were just like, why is God saying every Monday? Literally every Monday for 14 years. We have been there. Somebody has been there. We have amazing volunteers and friends. And, we have 4 siblings. So one of us 4 is usually there, but it is solely run by God. There's no way that we would have been able to keep this up for 14 years unless his hand was just guiding people's hearts and pulling people together, and the community and the care. I think the turning point was really just as things continued to grow, we felt more and more not out of control, but with our hands open, and I think just the more we opened our hands, the more we felt like God was able to move, the more space he had to move and keep this thing running. And, now my sister and my brother are kind of they're kind of the heads of the thing. And we're actually, we're able to house people, and we're able to, and we also work in jails, and we have this program called the Wild Ones that I I really started to kind of plant my feet in, called the Wild Ones, and we would go into the jails and work with the women there. And so
how did that come about?
I don't know. Yeah, it started out, we would every Tuesday we'd go into the local jail, just because a few of us had a heart for that, and every Tuesday we'd go in, and we thought of this name called the Wild Ones because we wanted to teach about the Bible, but we wanted to teach about the wild ones of the Bible and the ones that pushed against, and the ones that like were making big moves, and Jesus being the wildest one, right? Like he's the one who was making the big the big moves and pushing against the system, and just trying to say, hey, your spirit, your wild spirit, whatever got you here, whatever circumstances got you here, whatever decision you had to make that got you here, it is okay. And God created you in a beautiful way, and and when you start to learn more about his heart, you start to learn more about you. And we wanted to meet people where they are and say, you're not a, I mean, I'm about to quote my own song, but, like you're not a problem, and you're not a mistake. Like grace is this beautiful thing that needs to be talked about in jail, and so we really wanted to introduce that kind of program into jails, and ended up, creating this whole thing where we basically were going in 5 days a week, and spending time with these girls. And that's where a lot of my songs came from, and a lot of their stories, and a lot of the ways just watching people see God for the first time. And I could just go on and on forever about the Wild Ones.
The Passion Meets Purpose podcast is made possible thanks to our friends at Northwest University. Ensuring a welcoming spirit for you at Northwest University, your tuition remains lower than all other Christian schools in Washington. And NU is all in on tech. They've got a brand new state-of-the-art technology studio, and majors include UX design, data science, video production, audio production, and computer science. This is in addition to an already diverse offering of business, nursing, education, sciences, communication, psychology, music, and humanities. Northwest University is a faith-based community, Christ-centered in all they do. At Northwest University, your future isn't canceled. It's just beginning. Anytime anyone's ever applauded you and said something like, oh, that's such great work that you do, you've said that you've needed these women almost more than they've needed you. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's just like every time I feel like I walk into any scenario where I'm like, I've got something to say, I'm going to save this place, like I walk in with my plan. I just end up, my heart just gets softened and broken even sometimes. And I get more from the vulnerability, from the strength, from the just absolute like resilience and just grit and heart, from these girls. I've learned so much more from them than they ever learned from me. And I think the biggest thing too is just the collaboration of our collective stories of privilege, of stories of struggle, of knowing God, not knowing God, kind of knowing a version of God, and just all of us coming together and listening and in non-judgment and in love. It's been healing for everybody involved, all the volunteers, all the teachers, all the guides, and all the inmates. It's just been a really beautiful collaboration, and it just teaches me more about the world and how to be brothers and sisters, and how to actually kind of live as a family of God. And it kind of brought me back to life in that way.
Is there a particular story, a moment, a person that you can share just that highlights that?
I mean, there's a lot of stories of people that come in kind of they hadn't cracked a smile, in 2 weeks, the whole, the first 2 weeks of the program, and just not saying much. And there was one girl that just very, very quiet and very reserved. And And kind of openly like, I'm not really here for the God stuff. I just kind of want to have something to do, and have a group of people to kind of interact with or whatever. And by the end of it, she even had like this little, we made this little video on our website. And by the end of it, she was like, I smile. I laugh now. She's like, you don't understand. That's not normal for me, and like, just even like hearing somebody say, like, wherever she landed with, or wherever that seed is, that was planted in her, like whatever it is, she knows there's joy. She feels the joy part of that. And I love how like creative God has been. Like, I love how I get to see like how creative he is. And it's not always just this like obvious big, Sunday morning moment. It's like, sometimes it's just this little seed of joy that's like, why do I feel joyful? Why do I laugh now? Why do I smile now? Just getting to see like little pieces of the story. But she really touched me. I just loved, I loved how honest and just straightforward she was, and how God just was like breaking through and breaking that smile out and all of that. So
how do you understand God different from going behind prison walls so often?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really just like the ways, without being like, too cliche about it. It's like you can feel him like weaving himself through the bars and through the thick cement walls. Like, he lives there. He lives in there. He says, come visit me in prison. Like, he is there. He is like palpable. I think, I know I've said this word like 3 times, but I feel like this is the word. It's like, he's gritty. He's got grit. He's not just this, this person that we meet every Sunday and that we kind of, follow the rules for. Like, he's going to get down on the prison floor and sit with you in your tears and in your pain and in your regrets. And he's going to sit right next to you. He knows your tears. And I think I needed to see like that reckless way that God loves, I needed to see it that palpably, that like, just that visually, I guess, to really understand him. And I still have so much more to understand, but I'm really grateful that I got to see that side.
How does it lend to your songwriting, your collaboration with Andrew, with Ethan, when you write? How does that impact the story that you want to tell the world through music? Well,
yeah, I think like, this is a perfect story of how I always get blessed more than I bless. But I came home with some stories of the girls, and I'm like, oh, this girl went through this thing and she came out on the other side and she is doing so great and she's going to, get her kids back when she gets out and this whole thing. And I'm telling the story of like all of her triumphs and stuff and her struggles. And then I remember that that's also me, in so many ways. That's also my story. Maybe not all the details of it, but like I also, struggled with self-esteem stuff and like identity stuff and all these things that can lead us to so many crazy destinations. But it's like, once you figure out like that we're all just children, in his eyes, and he just wants to love us. The connection of our stories, it's like I could sing this song to 5-year-old me. I could sing it to 25-year-old me. I could sing it to 35-year-old inmate. It's just like, there's a story that God wants to, and a song that God wants to like sing over us. And it's for all of us. Like, we're all in this together, and we, that's the point. I think that's the thing that like God is teaching me, is like he just wants us to come together. He wants this oneness and unity, and so I think every time I sit down to write a song, I think about, how is this like holding us together? How is this pulling us towards him and towards each other? And that's kind of where my head goes.
It makes me think of a quote. I think it's by Philip Yancey. someone asked him, can you summarize the Bible in a sentence?
Yes.
And he said, God gets his family back.
Oh my gosh. I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I gotta write that down.
I thought that was just
cool.
the most beautiful
yes.
summary. And I feel like that's what you're describing.
Yes. I just think that like there's so many little ways that we make room for each other when we just stop for a second and slow down and like hear each other out and stay for another few minutes and even hold our tongue for a few minutes, listen longer, just that whole thing. I think it does. It makes, and you know, even with the Bible, it's like, stay with the Bible a little bit longer, like read less, like read a smaller portion of the, you know, don't try to read a whole chapter, like read a little bit of it and just hold it. And I think you're right. Like, I think you start to draw closer to your Father and to the children of God. And yeah, I love that.
Okay. So it's called The Wild Ones. And then does your, the nonprofit that your sister and your brother head up, does that have a name for people to find?
Yeah, that's called People Loving Nashville.
Okay.
So that's kind of that's kind of our big umbrella.
Okay. Well, before I let you go, because we talked about all the important, beautiful things. So yes. I want to know, I heard a while ago, this is totally just like a left turn at the end of the podcast.
Go for it. Love it.
You said that your ultimate collaboration would be with Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
And you got to meet him, and I need to hear this story of how that happened. Was it multiple meetings?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so I got to see him play a lot, and I got to stand side stage. And because I was singing background for an artist that was we were kind of on the same like track, like touring track. So I got to like.
Who was the artist that you were singing? Who are you singing background for?
His name is Hosier.
Oh yeah. You were on SNL, which we also need to talk about at the end. Okay, so yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It was so funny on that SNL episode. I'm like watching you in the background rather than him. I'm like, there she is. There she is.
Gosh. Oh, it's so crazy. I know. I can't. That's like bucket list moment for sure. Yeah. So another part of me taking a break was me kind of singing backgrounds for others, which was like this perfect way for me to like be singing and, you know, I always feel close to God when I sing, even if I'm like singing karaoke in my car.
Right.
So I was like, I want to sing, but I don't know what I want to sing about anymore. I don't know where I'm at with that. And so just this fun kind of way that I was able to keep doing that. So yeah, I sang for this artist named Hosier. Got to see Stevie Wonder, and then we sang at the Grammys with Annie Lennox, and I spotted Stevie, and I swallowed all the pride.
You did it. You had that moment. Everyone has this moment if you're ever faced in that moment, and it's like, do I say something or I don't? And what was it that compelled you to do it?
Oh my gosh, he is my ultimate. He was like, I never do the picture thing. Like I've never really been like flustered enough to really be like, I need to take a picture with you. So I got the attention of his assistant, and I was like, can you please? And I mean, it was my worst nightmare. They totally like his assistant was just like not having it. He was rolling his eyes at me, and I was like, I don't care. I gotta have a picture with him. And I got to, have 10 words with him, but it was enough for me.
I love it. 10 words. Do you even remember what they were?
Oh, definitely not. Nope. It was probably like how are you? What's your name? This is my name. I wonder if I even remembered my name. It was very quick.
Oh, that's so great. Well, and then you did do SNL, and I think I also heard you say once that if you ever added another thing to your plate, you would do some sort of an SNL, like that's part of your personality. You would want to do something like that.
Oh my gosh, I would. That is like my total dream, is to just be like a funny girl comedian.
So you must
never do it.
You must have loved being on that stage.
My gosh, that is a bucket list moment, like to be in that world. I remember we were getting ready to go on stage, and in the hosts were Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader. So they're literally running their lines in the hallway, and I'm just sitting there like basking in Kristen Wiig's glory. It was a moment for me. I was not cool at all. I was not playing it cool at all.
So you've had 2 bucket list kind of moments happen. So you got to say one that hasn't happened yet. Let's just put it out there.
Ooh. Okay. I need to create more bucket lists. When you have a 5-year-old, you're just kind of like, you're kind of on their bucket list, like now, like, it's like, okay, Disney World, Disneyland, like the whole thing. I mean, okay, I still haven't sang with Stevie.
Okay. So we need a redemption of the 10 words.
Yes. We need to turn that into
and we need a song. All right.
Yep.
All right. Well, you got plenty of time. And thank you so much for taking the time to share all of that with us today.
Oh, I love telling that story, and I love getting to know you, and I loved our dinners, in Florida. I was like, this is so God's placement to just place us across the table from each other. And I'm so happy that we got to chat more.
Our thanks to Andrea Clyde at Boxer Poet for setting up this interview. And of course to Scott Caro, our fabulous producer with Terra Firma. And as always, I'd love to hear from you about your passion, your purpose. Perhaps you're on the next episode, which I will see you again in 2 weeks.